Some fictional worlds just completely nail their magic
Yeah.
system. They make it feel so incredibly layered, almost like a real field of study, right? With its own rules and history.
That's absolutely right. Yeah,
It's not just, random sparkly stuff happening.
exactly. And when a universe really puts the work in, establishes those consistent principles for its magic, it doesn't just make the magic itself more believable. It makes the stakes and the potential solutions much clearer,
Mm,
more engaging for the audience, really.
totally. And today we're doing a deep dive into a universe where the magic is surprisingly detailed and, well, frankly, pretty quirky. We're talking about Jackie Chan Adventures.
Yes.
We've got this source here that really maps out how it all works.
And this source gives a pretty comprehensive look. I mean, it covers the different forms, the spells, the objects,
Hmm.
all within that specific reality. It's probably more structured than you might remember just from watching the show casually.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the source material. We want to pull out the most important nuggets, the types of magic, those memorable spells, the powerful objects, and the key players who use them, just to give you a clear picture of how magic actually functions in this specific animated universe. Ready to pull back the curtain on those unseen spiritual forces?
Do it.
Okay, let's unpack this.
All right, so starting with the fundamentals laid out in the source. Magic in Jackie Chan Adventures is defined as basically the supernatural art of harnessing unseen spiritual forces.
Okay.
These forces, they're not just wild energy. They're channeled through specific things like spells, rituals, and various mystical practices.
So it's not just anyone waving their hands around then. There's a method to the madness. And who are the primary practitioners we usually see?
Primarily wizards.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the main conduits for this spiritual energy.
Yeah.
And the show gave us a couple of really iconic lines that kind of encapsulate the core philosophy here.
Oh, I remember them. There's the one about execution, do not rush the magic.
Right. A principle often ignored, usually for comedic effect. And then the fundamental rule for dealing with magical conflicts. Magic must defeat magic.
Oh, yes. You can't just punch evil spirits into submission, right? You need the right kind of counter for it.
Exactly. It sets up so many plots.
It really does. And the source mentions a core component underlying a lot of this, chi.
Yes, chi. It's described as the essential life force. It's in all natural beings. And in this system, it's crucial because it's balanced by yin and yang, basically. Light and dark, or good and evil chi.
Okay, good and evil chi.
Yeah. This balance, or sometimes the imbalance, is the fundamental energy that's being manipulated.
Okay, so we've got the basics. Spiritual forces, wizards, chi, balanced by yin-yang. But the source makes it clear it's not just one big pool of magic, right? There are distinct types.
Correct. It's definitely not just one thing. The system breaks down into several different branches.
Branches, okay.
Yeah, so there's chi magic itself, manipulating that life force. And this splits into good chi magic, used by the good guys like Uncle, and dark Shaya magic, which is conjured by villains like Dailon Wong.
And the source points out something specific there, that good chi is actually harmful to beings like the demon sorcerers.
It is, yeah. That's a really specific rule and a crucial vulnerability for them. Then we have demon chi magic, which is distinct again.
Okay.
These are the inherent elemental powers wielded by the demon sorcerers themselves.
Like Shindu's fire or Baiza's water, their own built-in abilities.
Exactly. Beyond that, the source lists some more, well, specialized types. There's elf magic, unique to the elves of the North Pole.
Ah, right. Santa's helpers have their own magic.
Seems so. Then portal magic, specifically for travel through space and even time.
Time travel via magic. Wow, that's a whole can of worms right there.
It certainly is. And scroll magic, this is a specific arcane practice where users cast powerful chai spells by reading ancient texts.
Oh, like how Lo Pei beat Shendu way back when.
That's the one noted in the source, yes, using a scroll spell.
Okay. This source also highlights shadow magic. This is where it gets really interesting.
It truly is. This is used by the Shadowkhan and their masters. It involves moving through and between shadows, even accessing the shadow realm itself.
Travel through shadows. How does that even work? Is it like teleportation or...
Well, the source describes it more as phasing, maybe, or shifting dimensions via the shadow plane. It's tied very closely to their nature as beings of shadow.
Okay, phasing. That's cool.
Then arguably the most prominent magic, especially early on, is talisman magic.
Yeah.
The powers from the 12 talismans, linked to the Chinese zodiac ancestor.
Right, the animal powers. Those are the MacGuffins driving so much of the early seasons.
Indeed. And then there's a really surprising one mentioned in the source, theater magic.
Wait, theater magic? What is that? Is it just like making props appear on stage?
No, no, it's much stranger. It's a type used by actors, but specifically with something called magic makeup.
Magic makeup.
Yeah. It apparently allows them to pass through solid objects, walls, floors, ceilings, presumably for stage illusions or maybe quick exits.
Okay, that's hilariously specific. Magic for theatrical special effects.
It seems so. It's a very niche, kind of peculiar application of magic in this world.
It really shows the range this system covers, though. From ancient Qi to, well, stage magic makeup.
So, okay, we've got these different types established, but how is the magic actually done? How is it performed? That's where spells and incantations come in.
Right, the actual activation.
The spells are the actions, and they often need specific words or phrases. Magical code words, basically.
And the source lists quite a few memorable ones, doesn't it?
It does. There's the chai removal spell.
Mm-hmm.
That's uncle's go-to for, demonizing people or removing dark chai influence.
Mm-hmm.
The duplication spell sounds straightforward, but the source emphasizes you must use a finishing charm. Otherwise, it just keeps duplicating forever.
Oh, no. Imagine accidentally creating infinite copies of, I don't know, jade. You definitely need that finishing charm.
Yeah, absolutely. Then there's the locator spell,
Mm-hmm.
but it requires a corresponding item, something belonging to the target, to actually find them.
Makes sense, like a magical tracker.
Exactly. The mask removal spell, for dealing with those Oni masks, is particularly tricky. Each mask, the source says, requires its own unique key ingredient for the spell to work.
Wow, so you can't just batch remove them. You need a specific ingredient for each one. That adds a huge hurdle for the heroes.
It really does. Then there's the parchment spell. This one's odd. The source notes it immobilizes someone by magically sticking a parchment to their face.
Okay.
But they can still talk. They retain their ability to speak while completely stuck.
So you're immobilized, but you can still yell insults at the person who did it to you. That is a weirdly specific detail.
It certainly is. And how about the seniority spell? This sounds like something you'd invent to win an argument with a kid. It grants authority by radically de-aging the subject.
You magically turn someone into a kid just to make them listen to you? Wow. That's pure cartoon logic mixed with a specific magical effect. What about Uncle's stun spell? The fish.
Ah, yes. Often delivered via an enchanted blowfish. A very visual and memorable detail from the show, that one.
A magical blowfish dart? Okay, let's talk about the actual words, the incantations. The source gives the phrases and sometimes translations, which is really cool.
It is. The most frequent one, Uncle's banishing spell, is Yu Mo Guigui Fei Di Zhao.
We hear that all the time. What does the source say it means?
It's Cantonese. Translates roughly to spirits, demons, ghosts, monsters, quickly leave. It's a general purpose clearing or exorcism phrase.
Perfect for his line of work, then.
Definitely. For a more specific example, Baica's water summoning spell uses Lai Shui Zai. The source notes this is Chinese, meaning something like occur, flood, or come flood.
Mm-hmm.
And fascinatingly, it mentions the spell circle she uses includes the actual Chinese character for water.
So the symbol, the words, the effect, they're all linked. That shows some real intentional design there.
It does. For the Oni mask removal, the incantation is Okama Tachimas. This one's Japanese, translating to something like come out mask face of evil.
A direct command to the mask. Makes sense.
And Jade shrinking spell. It has that repetitive chant. Shieshu's Yu Shu Yu Shu, followed by the name of whatever she's shrinking. Shieshu apparently translates loosely from Chinese as Lord go on.
Huh. It's literally just telling them to get smaller and smaller. Simple but effective, I guess.
Seems to be. And showing the diversity here, the Magisters remember them. The medieval druid types.
Vaguely.
They use a Latin phrase for their lightning bolts, ex metu veres, which the source translates roughly as out of fear the truth.
Latin. Wow. Okay, so the magic sources are really all over the map culturally. Chinese, Japanese, Latin. That's actually really interesting. It's not just drawing from one single tradition.
Right. And beyond the spells and the words, the system relies heavily on magical objects, things that either contain power or are tools for using magic.
Like the talismans, obviously. Can't forget those.
Absolutely, they're central, each holding a specific power linked to those noble animals. Then you've got the Oni masks, which we mentioned, designed specifically to imprison powerful Oni spirits.
Right. And objects tied to big historical events, too, like banishing the demon sorcerers.
Exactly. The Panku box and the symbols of the Eight Immortals were the crucial tools used for that original banishment.
Mm-hmm.
We also see objects of immense power, like the Book of Ages. This thing doesn't just record history. It can literally change reality if its pages are altered.
Whoa, okay, that's a seriously high-stakes magical item. Messing with the past like that.
Definitely. Then there's the Chalice of Life, granting eternal youth, a classic magical trope, and the Emerald of Killarney, which inflicts that bad luck curse.
Oh, the bad luck emerald.
But the source highlights a specific condition. The curse only lifts when the emerald is willingly passed on to someone else.
Willingly. So you can't just, like, ditch it
Yeah.
or trick someone into taking it. How does that rule even play out?
Well, it creates a major challenge, right? Because you have to actually convince someone to accept misfortune. It forces characters to use persuasion, maybe deception, rather than just force or chance to get rid of it. It makes the object's magic interact directly with character motivation and interaction. It's clever.
That's a really good point. The rules aren't just about power levels, they actively create narrative problems to solve.
Precisely. There are also tools that kind of bridge magic and technology, like Uncle's astral vision goggles for seeing invisible stuff,
Right, the ghost goggles.
or his chi detector, the Kiomatic, for finding and collecting chi energy.
Tech meeting magic. That's always a fun blend in this universe.
And some iconic images turn out to be magical objects too, like that stone idol of the three wise monkeys. It's apparently sealed with dark chi magic to embody neither see, hear, nor speak of such evil, effectively containing certain negative energies.
So it gives that classic image a concrete magical function within the world. Interesting. What about something simpler, like magical ingredients? Anything stand out?
Well, the source lists a rather mundane one, actually.
Garlic.
Garlic, just regular garlic.
Yeah.
From the grocery store.
Apparently so. The source claims adding garlic accelerates the effect of a chai spell. Huh. So magic sometimes needs a little culinary kick. That's delightfully weird and specific.
And the system isn't just about forces and objects and spells. It's also defined by the practitioners who wield the magic and the kinds of magical beings they run into.
Right, the people involved.
We see a clear distinction between good chai masters, like G Master Fong,
Mm-hmm.
and of course Uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and dark chai masters, like Dailon Wong. That's the core conflict often.
Good versus evil chai users. Makes sense.
Right. Other types of practitioners. You've got the legendary Eight Immortals, the original banishers of the demons, Lo Pei, the scroll magic user we mentioned, the Magisters, those medieval guys,
Okay.
Toru, who has that great arc from apprentice to mentor himself eventually, and Iso, who is noted as a future dark chi wizard, but he started as a good chi apprentice under Uncle.
Wait, really? So someone can actually switch sides? From good chi to dark chi? That seems significant. It suggests the path isn't totally fixed.
It implies a choice, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or maybe a corruption is possible within the system itself, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And the magical beings they encounter are incredibly diverse, too.
Yeah.
You've got the elemental demon sorcerers, the Shadow Khan using shadow magic, the Oni who command a Shadow Khan, various nasty creatures conjured up by dark chi, Jiangxi, which are like vampires that drain chi instead of blood,
Oh, right.
and mirror spirits that literally reflect your worst fears back at you.
Man, it's a whole magical ecosystem, isn't it? With all these different kinds of threats operating by different rules.
So, okay. We've mapped out the fundamentals, the types, the spells, the objects, the practitioners, the beings. If we step back and look at this whole system, what does it really tell us about the magic in Jackie Chan Adventures?
Yeah, what's the big picture here? What does this whole package mean? How does this blend of stuff actually work together in the context of the show?
Well, if we connect the dots, I think one key thing is that this system isn't strictly confined to one cultural mythology, even though it definitely leans heavily Eastern, particularly Chinese.
Right, with the chi and the zodiac and all that.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But it pulls from Japanese folklore for the Oni and the Shadow Khan, touches on Western ideas with the Magisters and their Latin spells.
Mm-hmm.
Even the simple garlic ingredient feels kind of European, folk, magic-ish.
Mm-hmm.
This blending, I think, mirrors the show's whole premise, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Jackie's Eastern heritage meeting these global threats, working with a diverse team, it makes the world feel broader, more integrated.
That's a great point. The magic system reflects the show's own identity.
Yeah.
What about how the specific rules impact the storytelling, like you mentioned with the Emerald of Killarney earlier?
Exactly. Rules like good chi being harmful to demons, or needing unique ingredients for each Oni mask, or the talismans being scattered all over the world. These aren't just arbitrary details. They directly create the narrative challenges week after week. The heroes can't just use the same solution every time. They have to figure out the specific rules of the magic they're facing, or the magic they need to use. Magic must defeat magic. isn't just a cool line. It means the characters constantly need to seek out magical knowledge or artifacts or ingredients to counter these magical threats.
So the limitations and the specific conditions within the magic system actually force creative problem solving in the plots. It makes them have to think, not just punch.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the sheer diversity of the magic. I mean, from elemental powers to shadow travel, from ancient scrolls to, well, theatrical illusions with makeup, it keeps the show fresh.
Yeah.
It allows for a really wide range of villains and magical threats, each with their own unique toolkit, and crucially, their own weaknesses tied to the rules. You never quite know what kind of magic you're going to encounter next.
It definitely prevents the magic from getting stale or feeling like just generic energy blasts. It has character-specific applications. It really shows that even in what's fundamentally an action comedy cartoon, establishing clear, even if sometimes quirky, rules for your magic system really pays off. It creates a richer, more engaging world.
Absolutely. This deep dive really illustrates that building a compelling fictional magic system isn't just about inventing cool powers, is it? It's about establishing those fundamental principles, categorizing the different branches, defining how spells are cast, creating objects with very specific properties, and then populating the world with diverse magical beings and practitioners who all operate more or less under those rules.
Hopefully this is giving you all some aha moments about the kind of hidden structure behind the magic in Jackie Chan Adventures. It shows just how much thought can go into those unseen spiritual forces we talked about at the start.
So considering this specific blend we've discussed, the Eastern and Western elements, the really quirky rules like theater magic or the seniority spell, and how these rules seem to actively drive the narrative conflicts, what do you think this magic system does particularly well compared to other fictional worlds you've explored?
Yeah, that's a good question. And thinking about that diversity, what interesting story possibilities does this unique combination of magical ideas open up? Possibilities that might not exist in a system based solely on, say, elemental magic or just traditional wand waving. Definitely something to mull over.